As a new year begins, the world encourages us to take control. We are told to plan harder, aim higher, and secure every detail of the future. We are urged to make resolutions, set timelines, and build certainty with our own hands. Yet deep within the human heart, there is a quiet truth we cannot escape. No matter how carefully we plan, we are not in control. Time has proven this again and again. Life can change in a single moment. Health can shift, doors can close, and paths can turn without warning. And it is in this reality that true peace is revealed not as something we manufacture, but as something we receive. True peace at the start of a new year does not come from knowing every answer or predicting every outcome. It does not come from financial security, perfect health, or carefully written plans. Peace is not born from certainty. Peace is born from surrender. It is found when we place our lives fully into God's faithful hands and trust Him with what we cannot see. The human heart longs for control because control gives the illusion of safety. When we feel in control, we believe we can prevent pain, avoid loss, and secure our future. But control is fragile. It crumbles under pressure. It fails in the face of unexpected trials. And when control is lost, fear rushes in to take its place. Many enter the new year carrying anxiety not because they lack plans, but because they lack peace. They have strategies, goals, and ambitions, yet their hearts remain restless. Peace does not come when everything around us is stable. It comes when everything within us is surrendered. God never promised us a future without storms, but He promised His presence within them. When we surrender our lives into His hands, we are not giving up. We are being held. Surrender is often misunderstood. Some believe surrender means weakness, passivity, or defeat. But surrender to God is an act of faith, not fear. It is the decision to trust His wisdom above our understanding, His timing above our urgency, and His purpose above our plans. It is saying, Lord, I do not know what this year will bring, but I know You will be with me through it. At the start of a new year, many carry the weight of the past. Regrets linger, mistakes echo, opportunities missed, and words spoken cannot be undone. The temptation is to replay yesterday while fearing tomorrow. But surrender invites us to release both. When we place our lives in God's hands, we place our past, present, and future there as well. He is not limited by our failures, nor discouraged by our weakness. Grace does not look back to condemn, it looks forward to restore. Some hearts enter this year exhausted. They have tried to fix everything on their own. They have carried burdens they were never meant to carry. They have worried themselves into sleepless nights and anxious days. Surrender is God's invitation to rest. Not the rest of escape, but the rest of trust. When we surrender, we acknowledge that God is strong enough to carry what we cannot. True peace begins when we stop demanding certainty and start trusting faithfulness. God has never failed to keep His promises. History, Scripture, and personal testimony all echo the same truth. God is faithful. He was faithful in the past, He is faithful in the present, and He will be faithful in the future. The hands that shape the universe are the same hands that hold your life. They are steady, they are sure. They do not tremble at uncertainty. Many fear surrender because they are afraid of what God might ask of them. They fear losing comfort, control, or direction, but surrender to God never leads to loss, it leads to purpose. God does not take without giving. He does not lead without guiding. He does not call without providing. When we surrender, we exchange anxiety for assurance, striving for peace, and fear for faith. As the year begins, the question is not, what will happen? The question is, who do I trust? If our trust is in circumstances, peace will rise and fall with them. If our trust is in people, peace will break, when they disappoint us. But when our trust is in God, peace remains steady even when the world shakes. There will be days this year that do not make sense. There will be prayers that seem unanswered and doors that close unexpectedly. There may be seasons of waiting that test patience and faith. Surrender does not mean we will always understand God's ways, but it means we trust His heart. Faith does not demand explanations. It rests in relationship. True peace is not the absence of trouble. It is the presence of God. When we surrender our lives to Him, we invite His presence into every moment. Into our work, into our families, into our struggles, into our dreams. Peace walks with us not because the path is easy, but because God is near. At the beginning of the year, many focus on self-improvement. Be stronger, be better, be more disciplined. But the deepest transformation does not begin with self-effort. It begins with surrender. God changes us from the inside out. He reshapes our desires, renews our minds, and aligns our hearts with His will. Surrender is not about losing yourself. It is about finding who you were created to be. There is peace in knowing you do not walk alone. There is comfort in knowing your future is not random or forgotten. God sees what you cannot see. He works in ways you may not recognize at first. Even delays have purpose. Even struggles can refine faith. Even silence can be preparation. When we surrender, we stop measuring our lives by success alone. We begin to measure by faithfulness, faithfulness in prayer, faithfulness in obedience, faithfulness in trust. The world celebrates results, but God honors surrender. A surrendered heart is never wasted. Some enter the new year with fear because they feel unprepared. They do not feel strong enough, wise enough, or capable enough. But surrender reminds us that God does not call the qualified. He qualifies the called. He does not depend on our strength. He works through our weakness. When we surrender, His power is revealed. True peace comes when we stop asking God to bless our plans and instead ask Him to direct our steps. We stop insisting on our timeline and start trusting His. We stop holding tightly to what we want and open our hands to what He wills. In those open hands, peace settles gently. This year will bring change. Some changes will be welcome. Others will challenge us, but surrender anchors us. It keeps our hearts steady when circumstances shift. It reminds us that God remains the same even when everything else changes. When we place our lives in God's hands, we acknowledge that He is sovereign, that nothing surprises Him, that no problem is beyond His power, that no situation is beyond His redemption. Peace grows when we realize that the one who holds tomorrow also holds us today. There is freedom in surrender. Freedom from constant worry, freedom from endless striving, freedom from the pressure to have everything figured out. God never asked us to carry the future. He asked us to trust Him with it. At the start of this new year, surrender is not a one-time decision. It is a daily posture. Each morning, we choose trust over fear. Each night, we release what we cannot control. Day by day, peace deepens not because life becomes predictable, but because God becomes central. Even when the road is unclear, surrender keeps us moving forward. Even when answers delay, surrender keeps us grounded. Even when trials come, surrender keeps us hopeful. God does not abandon surrendered hearts. He leads them. This peace does not shout. It does not demand attention. It quietly settles within the soul. It steadies the heart. It guards the mind. It reminds us that no matter what comes, we are safe in God's hands. As this year unfolds, may peace guide your steps, not the fragile peace of certainty, but the unshakable peace of surrender. May you learn to release control and embrace trust. May your heart rest not in what you can manage, but in who God is. True peace is not found in holding tighter. It is found in letting go of fear, letting go of worry, letting go of the need to control outcomes. And when you let go, you will discover that you were never falling, you were being held. The hands of God are faithful. They have carried generations before you, and they will carry you through this year as well. Place your life there, place your future there, place your heart there, and you will find that peace does not depend on certainty, but on trust in the one who never fails. A new beginning is often imagined as a moment of strength, determination, and fresh resolve. We tell ourselves that this time we will try harder, plan better, and remain stronger than before. We make promises to ourselves that we believe will carry us forward. Yet history and experience quietly testify to a deeper truth. Human strength fades, and resolutions, no matter how sincere, often break under the weight of life's realities. A true new beginning is not built on what we can hold together, but on who is holding us. Every year arrives with hope in its hands. Hope that things will change, hope that pain will lessen, hope that prayers will finally be answered. But hope that rests only on human effort is fragile. It can be shaken by unexpected loss, sudden failure, or a single difficult season. That is why the strongest foundation for a new beginning is not determination, but trust. Trust that God holds the future. Trust that He leads those who place their lives in Him. Trust begins where self-reliance ends. It is the quiet confession of the heart that says, "I cannot do this alone." That confession is not weakness, it is wisdom. From the beginning of time, humanity has struggled with the illusion of control. We plan our days, chart our paths, and imagine outcomes. Yet life often takes turns we never anticipated. Trust acknowledges that while we do not see the full picture, God does. When we place our lives in God's hands, we are not surrendering to uncertainty. We are surrendering to faithfulness. God's hands are not hurried, nor are they careless. They are steady, purposeful, and guided by love. The future may be unknown to us, but it is never unknown to Him. Every step ahead has already been seen, every challenge already considered, every provision already prepared. Many enter a new season carrying the weight of the past, mistakes that still whisper accusations, failures that replay in the mind, regrets that steal confidence, but trust allows us to release what cannot be changed and place it into the hands of a God who redeems. He does not define us by our worst moments. He reshapes us through His grace. A new beginning rooted in trust means believing that yesterday does not have the final word. Human strength demands perfection. Trust invites grace. Strength says, "I must prove myself." Trust says, "I am already known and loved." When our confidence is placed in ourselves, fear quickly follows. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of the unknown. But when our confidence is placed in God, fear loses its grip. Trust does not eliminate challenges, but it changes how we face them. God's leading is often quieter than we expect. It does not always arrive with dramatic signs or sudden clarity. Sometimes it comes as a gentle nudge, a persistent peace, or a door that closes so another may open. Trust means following even when the path is not fully visible. It means walking forward with obedience instead of waiting for complete understanding. A new beginning guided by trust does not promise ease. There will be days of uncertainty and nights of prayer. There will be moments when progress feels slow and answers seem delayed, but trust reminds us that delay is not denial and silence is not absence. God works in ways that stretch our faith because faith grows strongest when it is exercised. Those who trust God are not spared from storms, but they are anchored within them. The wind may blow and the waves may rise, but trust keeps the heart steady. It teaches us that circumstances do not determine God's goodness, and difficulty does not cancel His promises. Even when the way feels unclear, trust whispers that God is still leading. Human resolutions often focus on outward change habits, routines, achievements. Trust focuses on inward transformation, character, faith, surrender. Outward change may impress for a season, but inward transformation sustains for a lifetime. When God leads, He is not merely interested in where we are going, but in who we are becoming along the way. Placing our lives in God's hands means trusting Him with our relationships. Some will change, some will end, and others will deepen. Trust allows us to release people we cannot control and love them without fear. It reminds us that God is at work not only in our lives, but in the lives of those around us. It also means trusting God with our purpose. Many search anxiously for direction, believing they must discover it on their own. But purpose is not found through pressure, it is revealed through obedience. As we trust God with each step, He unfolds the path before us. We do not need to see the entire journey, we only need to follow faithfully today. Trust challenges our need for certainty. We want guarantees, timelines, and clear outcomes, but faith thrives not on certainty, but on confidence in God's character. When we trust Him, we believe that whatever the future holds, He will walk with us through it. That assurance is stronger than any promise of comfort. A new beginning anchored in trust reshapes how we pray. We no longer come only with demands, but with surrender. Our prayers shift from "give me what I want" to "teach me to want what you give." This kind of prayer does not weaken faith, it strengthens it. It aligns our hearts with God's will and opens us to His leading. Trust also changes how we view success. The world measures success by results, recognition, and reward. God measures success by faithfulness. When we trust Him, we learn that obedience matters more than outcomes. Even when results are unseen, faithfulness is never wasted. Some may feel hesitant to trust because they have been disappointed before. They trusted people who failed them, plans that collapsed, or dreams that faded. But God is not limited by human inconsistency. He does not change with circumstances or abandon His promises. Trusting Him requires courage, but it is courage rewarded with peace. A life led by trust learns patience. Growth does not happen overnight, and neither does healing. God works in seasons, and each season serves a purpose. Trust teaches us to wait without despair and to hope without fear. It assures us that God's timing, though often misunderstood, is always perfect. Trust does not mean the absence of questions. Even those who trust deeply still wonder, still struggle, still seek understanding. But trust chooses faith over fear when answers are slow to come. It holds on to God's promises when feelings fluctuate. As we move forward into a new season, trust invites us to release the illusion of control. Control exhausts the soul. Trust restores it. Control demands constant vigilance. Trust rests in God's sovereignty. When we let go, we are not losing security. We are finding it. Placing our lives in God's hands also means trusting Him with our failures yet to come. We will stumble. We will make mistakes, but trust believes that God's grace is greater than our weakness. Failure does not disqualify those who trust. It humbles them and draws them closer to God. Trust transforms fear into faith. Fear asks, "What if everything goes wrong?" Faith answers, "Even if it does, God will remain." That assurance does not remove hardship, but it removes hopelessness. It reminds us that no situation is beyond God's redemptive power. A new beginning built on trust invites daily surrender. Not once, but continually. each morning becomes an opportunity to place our lives again in God's hands. Each decision becomes a chance to follow His leading. Trust is not a single act. It is a way of living. Those who trust God discover that He often leads them beyond their comfort zones. Growth rarely happens in familiarity, but every step taken in trust expands faith and deepens dependence on Him. What once felt frightening becomes a testimony of God's faithfulness. Trust also reshapes our perspective on uncertainty. Instead of seeing it as a threat, we begin to see it as an invitation to rely more fully on God. Uncertainty becomes the place where faith is refined and God's presence becomes most real. As the days unfold, trust reminds us that God is not merely watching from a distance. He is actively involved, guiding, protecting, and providing. His leading may not always match our expectations, but it always aligns with His purpose. A life entrusted to God's hands is a life anchored in hope, not wishful thinking, but confident expectation. Hope that does not depend on circumstances, but on God's unchanging nature. That hope sustains when strength runs low and answers seem far away. In the end, a new beginning is not about becoming someone stronger, but about becoming someone surrendered. It is not about mastering the future, but about trusting the one who holds it. When we place our lives in God's hands, we step into a journey led by grace, guided by wisdom, and sustained by love. The future may remain unseen, but it is never unsecured. God goes before us, walks beside us, and remains faithful behind us. And for those who trust Him, every new beginning becomes not a leap into darkness, but a step into His light.